Alrighty, hello, welcome to Outside the Numbers. It's episode 10. I'm one of these hosts over here. I'm Shelby Allen. I'm here with
Ethan Manjuri.
and yeah, 10 episodes in. I feel like we can officially say that we are better than most startup podcasts, right? I feel
I
like
would
we
say
have
so.
reached a benchmark that most don't reach.
I think we could
So
officially call ourselves podcasters.
do we want to though? Is that
I don't know. I don't. I don't know if I want to, do it all the time,
right?
kind of thing.
Yeah,
But
and I'm trying
we
to
are.
avoid that stereotype, but it's also who we are. It's who we've chosen
It's
to become.
this is who we've. Yeah, that's exactly what I was
Yeah.
going to say. Actually.
Ah, right on. That's the chemistry. That's what
Yep.
that's what it's all about.
That's what it. Wild.
So yeah, we're 10 episodes in, and naturally we decided to start this program directly after the climax of football excitement that is the Super Bowl. So we timed that to where we ride into maybe the least news filled part of the entire NFL calendar, but we're starting to build up. We're starting to get we're almost a week from the draft, which is kind of the not exactly the midpoint of the off season, but if you count the preseason, it's getting there.
It's
So
definitely the first big event.
right,
So
yeah.
and probably the biggest event of the off season.
It has to be, and a lot of drama, a lot of potential trades that we started talking about last week, and yeah, there's still so many teams that you can see hopping down to that Houston pick. It's still rumored that they might not swing a quarterback. You've got the Seahawks with Geno Smith, who they signed to a like a reasonable but not a you're our long term starter type deal. What other teams? I'm trying to think of.
Well, I saw a thing today that said Carolina was still undecided who they wanted to pick with the first pick, but that makes it sound like they're not looking at any trades.
Okay.
So that was I know we talked about potential trades with them last week. So I mean I wouldn't read too much into that, but
Right.
was,
Well, and they hopped in. They made that deal with the Bears to get to that number one spot, and it's funny to even think that they made that move without even knowing who they were going to pick at quarterback.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
maybe they did. Maybe they really were just like, we know one of those guys is good, so if we make this trade, we've got a month and a half to figure that out. I did see that Bryce Young. I mean, I should have figured out how concrete these sources were before writing it out on here, but I had heard that he like canceled his upcoming pro day or trips to work out with certain teams, and a lot of people were saying that maybe that indicates he knows he's going first overall, or at least knows concretely where he's going. I don't know how much these players
yeah.
and
I saw
GMs
that
really
too.
know behind the scenes.
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't know either. That's pretty interesting though that he would. I mean, like from my perspective, if I was in his situation, I would definitely want to feel out every team that I can and go talk to everybody coming into the league.
What
But
is the real advantage of not going and working out with the team?
I,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
I mean, it kind of, yeah, it doesn't look great on him, I would say.
Yeah,
But
maybe the Panthers literally told him like, we're taking you and cancel them all because we don't want to, on
yeah,
the off chance that you get hurt, but nobody's hitting you at a workout. Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully, maybe that's concrete. That's as close as we've gotten to really even being able to guess at the number one overall pick, though, which I do love. It feels
right.
like it's been a really long time since we've
Yeah.
had this level of ambiguity going into the draft. But there is way more important news. Dan Snyder,
The
known
man, the myth, the legend.
philanthropist, charitable billionaire, a rock in the DMV community. He has announced that well, he didn't announce anything. Who did we get on this? We got
It's been
Schefter.
announced. Was it Schefter?
Schefter has put forward that unofficially terms have been agreed to sell to the Canadian billionaire, I believe Josh Harris, who is also the owner of the New Jersey Devils and the Philadelphia 76ers, and which, really weird that now he's going from like Philly is going to hate him. This is a weird move. But I guess he doesn't care because he has agreed to pay $6 billion for a franchise which I don't know, for me it feels like the poverty franchise, at least of the last like 5 or so years. So
Yeah.
setting the record for the most ever paid for an NFL team. What's going on?
I don't know. I mean, numbers are going to increase every year. We understand that, but it doesn't fit at all. We've been to the stadium. It's not. It's not a good one.
Nope.
You know, that's not the best fan experience. The team is bad. It doesn't. You know, that's a
They don't have a
huge price
quarterback.
tag for a
They
very.
don't
They
win the
don't have a
division.
quarterback.
They don't do anything, man. What did they do? How did they?
They
And he
changed their
bought them
name.
for. That's true. And as you know, which was just begging for social media infographics the second this deal went through. Dan Snyder, playoff wins with him as owner, two names of the franchise three. So there are more, there have been more names of the team than playoff wins since he purchased the team in '99.
Which
One
is
of his
something we may never see again. So props to him for that. I mean, that
Yeah,
is,
enjoy it while you're here. This is
yeah.
history being made as he rides off into a $6 billion sunset. Absurd. There's no explaining why. I mean, this stadium, this organization has had literal sewage has burst and landed on fans during a game. That's something that's happened. A rail
Dude. Wow.
fell onto Jalen Hurts, which is actually maybe the
Yeah.
perfect segue into our next
Yeah.
headline, which
Yeah.
is that Jalen Hurts has now been agreed to a 5-year contract, 255 million, 179 of that guaranteed. And then, in the way we do with these new deals, as there is, a new deal, he has become the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. What are your thoughts on this record breaking transaction?
I mean, it's just so much money. It's wild. It's
Yeah,
really crazy. And
some would
especially,
say too much money.
I mean, you could argue that, I think. I think there's something there for sure. 179 guaranteed is crazy. Especially when the total is 255. That's a large percentage.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of surprising. I wasn't expecting him to, he hasn't had the cleanest beginning to his career. So it seems like they're putting a lot of trust in him, and I don't see it. But
It's like it. I definitely get the angle, but I
I get
also
the
feel like
contract.
when you have a guy on a rookie deal, do you really need to force? He's 24. You could have wrote out another year or so before making the deal. And considering, I don't know, it didn't feel like we were even hearing headlines that he was talking about holding out or anything to force this.
No, yeah.
Also, one in the
Which is
books
why it was
for
surprising to me because he hasn't been in headlines or anything, and now all of a sudden
yeah.
he's at the top of the list.
Now, is this? I don't want to turn this into like a tinfoil hat podcast, right? But this there is something fishy here with Lamar Jackson not being able to have a deal go through, despite apparently being, according to Rappaport, being offered 200 million guaranteed. The rest of the details haven't been offered, but apparently he has turned that down. I guess I'm sitting here thinking, is this a big move by the agents and owners in this sort of like conglomerate of the NFL upper class to kind of crush the agentless players and promote hiring agents? How do you how do you feel
I
about that
mean,
that possibility?
maybe. I mean, there's probably a lot of stuff like that behind the scenes that we just don't even think about. That's huge factors and things like this. But I mean, I don't. At some point, it has to come down to Lamar. Like he could just say yes or say no, and so being offered 200 million guaranteed and not immediately just taking that seems like he really wants out of there.
Yeah, I guess I should flesh out. I agree. I should say, for the purposes of my absurd conspiracy, I'm thinking that Rappaport that somebody paid Rappaport to put out that report to make Lamar look bad as a negotiation tactic. However, if he was actually offered $200 million and did turn it down, that's something an agent can't fix. That's just either him
Yeah.
really not wanting to play there, which I can understand, or genuinely thinking that he's worth that just so much money. And this does feel like a step in the direction of while owners aren't happy with what the Browns paid Deshaun Watson, they're not going to fully guarantee contracts, but this feels like the first step in the direction of like closing that guaranteed to not guaranteed contract percentage. They're starting to close that gap because 179 out of 255 is way more than
Right.
would typically be guaranteed.
Right.
So, any other thoughts on Hurts, Lamar?
I'm ready to hear where the heck Lamar is going and Roger. I'm just
Yeah.
Let's get some answers on this before.
That really has been the day one theme
Yeah.
of our podcast.
Yeah, and it's
changed.
just ridiculous that it's still going on.
Yeah.
And if they're both just holding out to try and get higher and higher contracts, I mean, like players like Lamar and Rodgers are who I would expect to all of a sudden be the highest paid quarterback in the league. So it's interesting that they were pushed, that kind of pushed the Hurts deal, them holding out, and they just want to go ahead and we can take the title while we can, kind of thing. Because this, like we've seen this before in the offseason, where there's like 3 new highest paid quarterbacks.
Right.
You know, like you were saying, as the deals come out, it's just record after record. So I don't know. It seems like players kind of tend to want to beat that for even a short amount of time.
Even if it's like a month or so in a random off season.
There was a point where OBJ, I think, was the highest paid receiver, but it was only like a week. But he was still like, he posted all about it and stuff. And like, well, maybe that's fun for them. I don't know.
Yeah. That's I can't say that I get that element of it, but you know, I guess they just exist in a different plane. But like you've got
Not really.
Burrow and Herbert and all these guys coming down the line that are just going to blow that out of the water. How is this sustainable? I cannot figure it out genuinely. But it's also worth thinking about when they structured this contract, because you were talking about the Super Bowl window of the Eagles trying to push this right now and get this deal done. They did structure it to super backload it. So he's making like less, I don't know the exact numbers, but like 10 million less this coming year, 5 million, and it slowly stacks up. So they really are, whenever there's a contract like this, my first instinct is to say like, oh, Super Bowl window's closed. You know, I have an article out somewhere about the quarterback dilemma of just like teams that pay their quarterback don't win the Super Bowl. Thank you, Patrick Mahomes, for blowing up a lot of progress that have been made on my end there, but that's fine. But yeah, no. So I do think that's a lot of it for the Eagles of just like instead of having him on I still don't know why you don't take as much of the rookie deal as you can, but I guess they've remedied that a bit with the structuring of it. But that's enough on quarterbacks. We move on to Damar Hamlin. This is some good news. Damar Hamlin has announced that he has been cleared by doctors to play professional football again. And I don't know about you. I read this and I just joy, but mostly just like, just like,
that's exactly what I was like. Oh, good for him. That's great that he's in that good of shape. But, bud, something's up. Like that wasn't normal. Maybe you need to not risk that again, because what if it just happens again, but they don't say, that would be, can you imagine that actually happening? That would be crazy.
It'd be so scary.
It's kind of how I felt about when Peyton Manning went and got his neck surgery and then came back. I was like, dude, just protect yourself.
Right.
This seems super dangerous.
Right into the sunset at that point. I mean, he already had the one Super Bowl. You're all right. But no, just really scary. I don't know. It's like I'm not going to pretend I know more than any doctor out there about this stuff. But everything in me is just like, please take The NFL will probably give you. I'm sure they already have or would supply some type of monetary help. Just like
Yeah.
please retire. Yeah, just call it. It's been fun, but hey, it could be. It has potential to be like an incredible, feature film level
Right.
comeback story. But at the same time, yeah, my first instinct, like yours, was just like, fear. But yeah, there's a reason we're not football players. So Allen Robinson has been traded for a seventh round pick to from the Rams to the Steelers. I went to. It feels like one of the great fall offs that there's been over the last. Like Allen Robinson
Yeah.
in 2020 and 2019, he had that element of like, oh, just get him a quarterback and he's good.
Yeah.
And I think they
Yeah. He
just
was
missed
the
the window.
whole. It was Bears, right? The whole
Yep.
Bears offense.
Yeah, for
And
like at least a few years.
yeah, then we went to Rams, and I was all excited because I was a big fan of him, and then nothing kind of. I drafted him on fantasy on 3 different teams,
Oh, that's
and
crushing.
and then just nothing from him, and then I was very upset.
Yeah, no,
But
that's very fair.
yeah, so I felt the fall off on a personal level.
I was gonna say I googled Allen Robinson earlier, and one of the things that came up, yes, there we go. The first people also ask section on Google is just
Yeah.
what happened to Allen Robinson. So he's definitely fallen off to the point where everyone is asking like what's going on. So
What
obviously
happened?
a I forget what he even was traded for to the Rams. It was probably like a second or a third. And now it's already turned into a seventh after like no production. So the Rams continue to just burrow deep below the ground
Yeah,
in terms of
and they
like
keep
Super
taking in
Bowl
these
just
good
plummet.
receivers, or at least receivers with good histories, and then just spitting them back out as nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on in that room, but
I hope this pattern continues, dude. That's fantastic. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Now, what would be awesome is if both like OBJ and Allen Robinson just immediately bounce back
that would be
with new
funny.
teams, and it was just like, what? Yeah, the Rams are a disaster. But that's been a little bit known. The year after the Super Bowl, it's hard to think of a recent team that's been that bad
Mhm.
after winning a Super Bowl, like the immediate season
Yeah.
after. So now I'm going to bring us in with a little bit of a game. This game is centered around the Tennessee Titans wide receivers core. So
Oh God.
so what I've done is I found this website that will randomly generate a human name, right? So that if you put in male and of American English descent, and you just say create the name, right? So I've done that, and I've now mixed this list where I have Titans currently employed Titans wide receivers and entirely made up names. And now I'm going to read them and have you tell me whether this is a Tennessee Titan or a fictional character.
All right, I'm
All
ready
right,
for this.
all right, you
Here we
ready to
go.
go? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to start off with Kyle Phillips.
Nah,
Okay,
that's
so
made
that's a
up. That's
Tennessee
a made
Titans
up
wide
name.
receiver.
That is.
That is a
That's
Tennessee. So you're 0-1 to start. Okay.
that's good. That's good.
All right, Traylon Burks.
I mean, it's not a familiar name, that's for sure. I don't know the name. I feel like that's not something a computer would come up with, though. But I also don't
All
think
right,
you'd give
final
me
answer. I got to
too.
rush you.
I'm gonna say not a player.
That is a Tennessee Titans
Ah,
currently employed wide receiver. All right, so we're gonna go from here. Racy McMath. I'm gonna just don't even
that
answer. I'm gonna repeat that one more time. Racy
racy.
McMath. What is your confidence in low tier website AI? That would they
uh,
develop the word racy as a name?
maybe I don't think so. I'm gonna say that's a player.
All right, you are correct.
Ah,
We
yes.
have got. Let's go. We are 1-2. Okay. All right. Not too many more to go. I won't drag this on too long. Another name, Nick Westbrook Ikhine.
Is that a hyphenated surname?
It is.
Mm, mm. I'm gonna say that's a real player then.
It's a real player. You're
Ah,
2-2.
nice.
You're back at 500. You're killing the game.
Yes.
Reggie Robertson.
Robertson.
Robertson with no T. That was a purposeful emphasis.
So, what do you think his great great grandfather did? Like,
You think he was a robber?
yes,
Yeah, no
surnames are
shot, dude.
occupational,
Well,
dude.
I mean, okay, sure.
He's the son of a robber for sure.
Okay, I'll give you this 1B. I'm not going to say that that couldn't still be a surname based on occupation, but
He's
I
definitely a
don't know.
real player, though.
It is indeed a real
He's
player.
on the roster.
Now, so you finish 3 of 5. Those were all Titans players. None of those are made up names. I originally, I actually did, to my credit, go to one of these websites and I created like 3 names and I put them down on the list. And then I went back to like go to the Titans depth chart and start filling them in. And I was like, there's literally no need to even put the fake names in. Like it was the game was already broken for me. Yeah. so not only were those all Titans receivers, those were all of the Titans receivers. And in case I missed, Mason Kinsey is another. But those are 6 human beings that I had heard of Treylon Burks by mere coincidence. I mean, he did play this year. I think he probably had like 700 yards or something. Rookie out of like either Oklahoma or something, but nothing promising. And then after that, just like the most, I've never heard of them.
No, I don't remember hearing about any of them.
Yeah,
Any of them at all.
Yeah, so that is the current state of the Tennessee Titans, and to target those 6 men, they have Ryan Tannehill,
the GOAT.
So that, yep, and then the offensive line. Am I crazy in saying Taylor Lewan retired? Is that something that happened?
That seems familiar.
So Taylor Lewan's a free agent. He's been linked to Kansas City. I don't know if he's been signed yet. But I bring that up because he's basically one of their only good offensive linemen. They're an absolute travesty.
Yes,
the Tennessee Titans. So
yes,
that was the function of that game. So if you're a Titans fan, I hope you enjoyed. And from here on out, we're going to close out, and we're actually going to close out pretty soon. But we will keep up from where we were last episode in the draft order. I believe we left off at the Raiders, which puts us at the 8th pick of the Atlanta Falcons. And I'm going to leave this entirely to you because I know your passion and appreciation for the professional football club in Atlanta. So just fire away.
Well, so they can I play this in a fun way?
Play it however you like.
We looked at it and we said that they need linebacker and quarterback. Emphasis on quarterback. So I'm not going to pick a quarterback. I'm going to find a small name linebacker from Arkansas, Drew Sanders. That's who the Falcons are picking.
Oh, okay. All right. I was willing to let you go a little crazy. But that is absurd.
I mean, that's not realistic in the slightest.
No.
Realistically, see like an Anthony Richardson, maybe. If he's still there, definitely. I don't know if he'll still be there, to be honest. I feel like he's going to go pretty early. But yeah, I feel like that's who they are realistically targeting the highest.
Yeah, and I think they have enough needs to where they wouldn't like. I think if the perfect quarterback isn't there, maybe they go for it. Maybe they don't. But to make that move up and draft a quarterback, if you're maybe trading with the Texans or something, you're basically giving a total drop to Desmond Ridder in confidence. But then it's also like, you bring in this rookie quarterback prospect, and he's being, I guess, guided. Like, I don't know. When you draft a high draft pick, you want to have some quarterback in your locker room that's going to be like a presence to help coach them up while you make that transition. If you're just holding on to Desmond Ridder and like Will Levis, I just don't have the words, man. It's just that's just a tough place to be.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I would like them to take a receiver. I'd like them to trade up and draft a quarterback just to see it all unfold. But yeah, no. Somehow I don't think they're going to draft that linebacker you mentioned. I tend to think
You don't.
maybe, yeah, they literally could almost 100% just draft him with their second round draft pick. He will more than
But
likely still be
but
there.
why wait? You know,
That's true.
snag him now.
That's the old Al
He's
Davis, the
right.
old Raiders policy. Like,
Yeah.
why draft them later? Draft them in the first round.
Right.
It is quite genius. I'll give you that.
Thank you.
That is a win for you.
Thank you.
The next pick, the Chicago Bears, who once held the first overall pick, now hold the ninth from Carolina, and we have their need as offensive linemen. That would be the safe move, and there's no world where they need a quarterback. There is plenty of wide receiver need. There's secondary need, but they were an incredibly fun offense to watch. Like it was one of those teams where they're losing so much, but they're still fun to watch with Justin Fields and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
unpredictability. So I think you have to go offense, maybe offensive line. It is just that simple. Just make Justin Fields' life a little bit easier than last year and see what happens. And
I
yeah, I
do
like
like
that move.
Justin Fields. I
Oh,
think
he's so
he's
fun.
got a high ceiling.
And he had an underrated, like I forget exactly what the stats were, but he had like one of the greatest quarterback rushing seasons of all time last year. I feel like that's not.
Of all time.
Yeah,
Dang.
absolutely. He was incredible. Okay, all right. I'm gonna let you. Okay, I'm gonna look up these stats because it's worth looking up. You can either close out the Bears or Eagles while I look this up, but
Okay.
it was absurd.
Okay, so if we're going O line, let's see that dude from Northwestern, Peter Skoronsky. I don't know
Skoronski.
how
I've
he
heard
says
good
that.
things. I believe it is
Skoronsky.
Skoronski.
I've seen his name come across a few things, but big dude, 6'4", 313. Number 10, pick number 10 was Philly.
Philly. Okay,
Got
Philly's
that
where
pick from New
we get
Orleans.
really interesting because they have your pick,
Yeah.
which I know you're already happy about, but this has the potential to ruin both you and me, because if they use that pick to pick Bijan Robinson, I will be so crushed because not only is he the best running back prospect and maybe like the best non-quarterback prospect period,
Hmm.
he's a Texas running back. He's meant to go to Dallas, and he's meant to become one of the greatest, if not the greatest, Cowboy running backs of all time.
I mean,
So
I see
my
it.
greatest fear is that the Eagles will use that pick on him. Oh, and a brief aside back to this Justin Fields season. So he rushed for in 2022. Justin Fields rushed 160 times for 1,143 yards. He rushed for 8 touchdowns. He rushed for. Okay, if I just had to let you guess, and you could do the quick math if you want to, how many yards per carry did Justin Fields have in 2022?
Was he up at like 7?
Yeah,
7?
7.1 rushing yards per attempt.
Jeez.
7. And that's one thing if your quarterback rushes a couple times a game, but when they rush 140 times in a season for
Yeah,
that, I mean, that's
right,
crazy.
right. Yeah,
And I think he proved
that's
in that
wild.
process that he can also throw. Uh, so, I mean, I guess all that to
I didn't
say,
realize it was that
they're taking
substantial.
an O lineman. Yeah, I
I mean,
didn't
that's
either throughout the season until sometime this offseason. I was looking it up and was just like, how has this not been talked about more? That is historic.
gee,
Yeah, that is a
wow. What I mean, like,
2011 Cam Newton situation.
What is Mike Vick's highest rushing total
I think
in a season?
Lamar. Let's see, most rushing yards by a quarterback. So Michael Vick had 1,000. Lamar Jackson holds the record at 1.2. But yeah, Justin Fields had the second most rushing yards in a season by a
Wow.
quarterback in NFL history, and he did it with one more touchdown than Lamar. With 6 more touchdowns than Michael Vick in 2006. That's absurd.
Jeez.
And then also, just to round out the thought, Lamar Jackson is both the first and fourth all time,
Okay.
which is pretty absurd. And then he
Okay.
also holds a couple more further down on the list when he was injured and still placed like top 10. But yeah, all this to say, the Bears desperately need an O lineman. I don't think there's any other pick they should make in the first round. And then the Eagles should not draft Bijan Robinson because it would crush my dreams, and I would be pissed at you for it because you gave them the pick.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. That would at that point be my fault.
It is
So
only fair. The next pick is the Titans, and we have their only need as a receiver.
it's a
Not
big
that
one
that's, I mean, yeah, that is
based
maybe
on
more
the
than any other
game
team.
when where the whole point was that their names don't even sound like real names, much less real
Yeah,
football players.
Racy McMath, and I do think it needs to be first round. Who's the guy? There has been. Oh yeah, there we go. Jackson Smith and Jigba. Crazy name to say, but he's been. I think
Another,
he is. What's up?
he just fits right in.
Yeah, oh, that's
like
actually really true.
he's got a hyphenated last name that you can't say.
It is also spelled
Jackson with an X.
Yep. There we go.
Like it's
That is a Tennessee Titans wide receiver. I think we just solved the Titans problem. That is destiny. Yeah, no further discussion.
Watch it.
Let's close it out with the Houston Texans, who have already have the second pick in the draft. They also have the 12th, and we have their need is everything. Where do you if you're okay, just for a second, you are the GM of the Houston Texans. You've hired DeMeco Ryans. Davis Mills is your quarterback at this very moment. What is screaming at you? What is the biggest need that you take with this 12?
So what do you remember what we took with their early pick?
So I believe we talked a
Second
lot
pick?
about them trading down. So like trading second and then maybe taking a something like an O lineman in like the 6th or 7th pick instead of being a 2, but not concrete enough. And I don't think there's going to be a quarterback at 12. So I feel like in this case it's just non-quarterback and probably non-O lineman too.
I mean, geez, they need help everywhere. If Christian Gonzalez, that cornerback from Oregon, if he's still there, you can build up your secondary. If not, do you know who their tight end is?
Oh, that could have been a game. I have no idea who their tight end is.
No clue.
Oh, wait, I do. They poached Dalton Schultz from Dallas.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Dallas offered him more money, and then he turned it down, and then he had to take a way worse deal from the Texans. So, great doing business with you, Dalton. Have fun. But yeah, he's their starting tight end.
Okay, so they're not going to go for that. Okay, well, in order to just keep building up offense, I guess they could go receiver.
Yeah, receiver probably. It's going to be interesting because they're right after the Titans. So it's like
it's a pretty thin wide receiver class, though. So I mean, like, depending on what other teams are going for, you either have a very good chance of getting one of the best receivers in the draft, or zero chance, with there only being like 2 or 3 in the top 25 players.
I guess that is the beauty of having your need listed as everything, because you really can fully say just like best player available. Yeah. Like I think a lot of GMs say that even when that's maybe not exactly true for them. They just want to get the best player available. But in this case, unless they manage to blow it, they really can just get talent anywhere.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you don't end up getting the best player available being 2 offensive linemen in a row. And fans don't like that. I've had a few.
I was listening to you like if Dallas did that, I would be thrilled. But yeah, no. But like, yeah, for a struggling fan base that I guess wasn't just in the divisional playoffs, that's just get some signs of life in Houston. Just something some jersey to buy for the first time since DeAndre
Go get
Hopkins
a skill player.
JJ Watt.
Get somebody flashy.
I will say one final thought, I guess, for the Texans is just, we talked about it a bit last week. Jalen Carter, it's coming around in the news again. Like, so many people I have heard say he is the best player in the draft, regardless of position. He's the best player in the draft. And I think he'll still be high first round. But we always do, like Laramie Tunsil, all-time moment when the draft is literally happening and somebody posts a video of him wearing a gas mask filled with bong. That's not how you say that, kids. He had a. Anyways,
And his gas mask, I mean, it was chock full of bong.
yes, of
I mean, it
weed, of
was
marijuana. So
smoke.
and then he plummeted from a first round pick and then ended up still having a great career. How far does this plummet Jalen Carter? If he's still there, I think they really would have to just go for it and take the best player available. So
Yeah.
but hey, that's we're literally just like a week and a day or two away from the
And it's going to start
2023
heating up.
NFL draft. So we'll have more content. We'll definitely have a full breakdown after. We may or may not have an episode before then, just with timing. We'll see. But thank you as always for tuning in. I'm Shelby Allen,
I'm Ethan Majuri.
and we will talk to you next week. All right, bye bye.
All right. Bye.
Okay.